Hey guys, Boot here. I'm going to be talking to you today a bit about some sound design with some mids and bass sort of stuff. So we'll sort of go on from what we were doing, or what we sort of had a brief look at in the previous video. I thought what I would have a look at though instead was Serum, which is quite similar to the Virus that I was using before. But you know, it's native, it's easily accessible for a lot of people, so it's a really good synthesizer. It's got a lot of the features that the Virus does and some that the Virus doesn't, which is pretty cool. So it's got all the standard waveforms, plus you've got all your wavetables and all that sort of business with it. Okay, so I'm going to go through one of my techniques that I use a lot with mids, and we'll see how we go. I'm kind of freestyling here, so I apologize if it doesn't work out, but I'm pretty sure it will. So what we want to do is I just generally go for a saw. I mean, it depends on the sound, and if you want something a bit different, you can go for something a bit different, but just for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to stick with just the standard saw wave. So we want two of those. Now the cool thing about Serum is, and you know, tons of other synthesizers have this feature, is the unison. So essentially what that's doing is giving you a whole bunch of different voices for that one oscillator. Okay, so essentially it's giving you more oscillators within that one oscillator. Okay, so let's see how just that one sounds. Pretty boring. Okay, so if I generally don't want to go more than about 3 or 4. It starts getting a bit sort of messy. Now the reason I go for the saw wave, it's got a lot of harmonic content, and for this sort of thing, for mids and that sort of thing, you want a lot of harmonic content that you can work with. Okay, so already we're starting to get a little bit of a sound there. You don't want to detune it too hard. Okay, so let's turn on the second oscillator. Okay, we're going to detune that a little bit. Okay, now we also want to fine tune those. So we're getting the detune within the oscillators at the moment, but we also want to fine tune them so the oscillators, these are both slightly detuned off each other. You don't want to go too crazy with those. Okay, so what that detuning is that's giving us a bit of movement. So if I pull up the Blue Cat, you can see, because we're detuning those oscillators, we're getting a bit of phasing happening, and so some of those upper harmonics are sort of moving up and down, and they're sort of coming in and out. So yeah, we're getting a little bit of movement there, and that's what these sounds are all about. Is you want movement, you don't want them static. Okay, all right. So we got a little bit of movement there with that. What we also want to do is add some modulation to these sounds. We don't want them to be too boring. That's not going to do anything. So I generally go for this. This is like the basic sort of sound. So I'm not going to do a whole bunch of modulation stuff to it just yet. So what I might do is add some saturation. So we'll go with the virtual mix rack, if it wants to load up for me. Okay, here it is. So I'm going to put on the VCC channel. So what this is basically it emulates the distortion of these desks. So you got, you know, SSL desks, these British desks. You've got an API desk, is the USA. You've got a Neve, you've got Trident, and you've got like a tube. So, you know, have a play around with those settings. Thicken it up. It's subtle. but it's going to thicken your sound out. Okay, next. Tape. This is going to add some extra thickness. You've got all these different tape types. I generally go, if I'm just doing single tracks, with the 16, because that's generally like a mastering one. But you know, you can do whatever. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's hear the sound with and without that. Okay, so it's a lot thicker. Okay, so what I also might do is just add a little bit of compression on there. Actually, we'll go with Pro C. Just to get that level a bit more constant. Okay, so the cool thing about Pro C is you have this little readout that gives you a visual representation of what your compression is doing. I usually start with the threshold, or actually the ratio. Bring the threshold down. So you can hear it start doing something. Okay, so we're leveling it out there. So once you've got it, then you pull the threshold back up there. Okay, and we don't want the auto. See, so we're getting a little bit less movement than that original sound. It's not moving around as much. Okay, so the other thing to do, Pro Q, mid sides, low cut, turn that on. Okay, so what that's going to do is anything below that is going to be down the middle, and anything above that is your side information. Okay. Alright, and I might just add a bit of a low cut there, just to make sure that we're not pushing any dead air down the bottom there. I might roll off the tops a little bit too, they're a bit harsh. Yeah, we'll keep it just light. Generally, about okay, cool. So what I'm going to do now is I generally do this at the tempo you want the track in. So if I'm running drum bass, 170 or bust. Let's go. And I'll bounce out just one long note of that. G's good. We'll go with G. Okay. Alright. So we want to export that. And we'll just call that Serum Mid 1. Okay, 24-bit. We don't need real time, and we don't want to. I'm not going to import it into the project. I'm just going to put it in that audio folder there. All right, so export, and that'll export our sound. Okay. So notice we weren't clipping or anything like that. You just got to keep your eye on the levels. Alrighty, so what I would do then is go into contact. Okay, and we want to, now I've got to remember where I saved that. It is in projects, boot projects, audio. Okay, so I'll go into contact. I use contact 5. I use this a lot. If you don't use it, use it. It's really fantastic. You can just go crazy with sampling and doing lots and lots of fun things. Okay, so you got to remember that it's mapped to C. I mean, you can change the tuning around if you want to do that, but I just generally just remember that it's in, when I play a C, it's a G. So, a couple of things. We've got a long release, doesn't really matter, but I might just pull that back a bit anyway. Okay, now the thing about that, it always defaults to 6. Just adjust the volume. Alright, so now I've got that in contact. What am I going to do next? I'm going to load up another one. Okay, so we want to set it to the same MIDI channel, and we want to send it to the same audio channel as well. So we've got 2 of those going. Okay, so what I will do with that, what's the playback sound? Okay, so I've got that same sound in there, but I've just detuned it slightly, just slightly off. Okay, so that's giving that sort of phasing, flanging effect, but it's more subtle than that normal sort of epic flange. So notice what it's doing. I was pointing at it. Notice what it's doing. See that? It's phasing through because we've offset those, they're slightly out of tune with each other. It's going to cause this phasing thing to happen, so it's going to cycle through these harmonics. Certain harmonics are going to pop in and out, and that's really cool for creating movement. Okay. All right, cool. So what I'll do with that, more processing. We'll run it through MixRack again. The Neve's really good for a lot of stuff that you want to get a lot of bottom end out of. Okay, and just to change up the flavor, we'll use some camel fat. We go to clear the preset. Now the thing about camel fat is when you adjust that distortion, when you turn up that distortion, it's actually going to turn up your sound as well. With this, it's linked, so if you turn up that input, it's actually going to turn down the output. Here, it's going to turn it up, so you need to adjust that volume. So a little bit of tube. Put it down a little bit. Cool. Okay, so we're happy there. What we want to do, alright, is do the same thing again. So here in mid, we'll go second gen. Bounce. And we're off. Okay, cool. So we got that. And we get rid of these guys. See you later, first generation. And we've got to go back to our projects folder, which was here. Audio. Okay. Back up again. Okay, so you could go ahead and repeat that process if you wanted to. I sometimes do. And we'll see how that sounds. All right, cool. So now we've got a fair bit of movement in regards to all that sort of pitch and that sort of thing. What I will start doing is running some notch filters through these guys. So you could do that in a whole bunch of different ways, but sometimes you can just chuck it in here. So you got peak, you got notch. So you want your notch. So around about sort of 2 to 4K is good for this sort of stuff, because that's the speech center of your hearing. So it's really sensitive to that area. So if you want to start accentuating sort of harmonics in that area, is really good. So what you could do is add some modulation to that. You could add an envelope. These flex ones are cool. Shows you here how far that's jumping up, so we don't want to go too far. So we're moving up quite quick, so we want to maybe a bit better, so it's going good to vocalize things too. And we'll do the same thing here. Sorry, I've done that one already. That's the second one. Okay, so we want to go to our filters, notch. So where was that one sitting? About 1.3. So we'll move this one up a little bit further. So maybe that's one. No, that doesn't sound good. It's probably a bit too much with two of those in there, I think. So what we'll do is add another layer of saturation. We might even add a bit more camel fat. We're just really, what we're doing is just raising the RMS by thickening out the sound here. Too hectic. Oh yeah, that's that. Okay, turn the distortion on. Cool. That'd be mech. Mech's always good. Not too much. Go overboard. And saturation. How are we looking on the big front? We're looking good. Let's have a look at the frequency analyzer and see what's happening. Okay, let's throw in an EQ so we cut out that crap down the bottom. Alright, yep. So see, that's gone now. There was a lot of stuff that's pushing in. More shelve. So you notice how that's moving there? You can probably see it a little bit better than that one. That's all our cool phasing stuff and all that. Alright, so we've got a good little sound there. So once again, we'll bounce that guy out. Okay, so 3rd gen. Alright. So we have a contact. No, we'll get rid of that crap. No. And we want to go to boot projects, audio. And there's our cool sound. But we've got to remember to turn all this junk off because it's going to go through that. I'll keep that on there, but turn that nice shelf off. So we've got a really cool sound there. Problem is we don't have a riff, we don't have a bass line, but at least we've got a sound.